Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with lesson number 1 in our incredible new tutorial series where I'm going to teach you how to code in Python. What I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice strong cup of black coffee. That's straight black coffee, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And I'm going to need you to get ready to learn some cool new stuff. Since this is a new tutorial series, I should probably give you a little background on it. And that is that this series of lessons is geared towards the absolute beginner. What does that mean? That means that I am not assuming that you already have your PhD from MIT in computer science. What I'm assuming is that you can listen and that you're willing to work hard. And if you have those two characteristics, I will teach you to code. Now we're going to go, as we go through these lessons, we're going to end up being able to do some really sophisticated and some really advanced projects. This is going to be a project-based class, but I'm going to start with the very basics and the very fundamentals. Now, if you do already have your PhD in computer science from MIT, don't complain that this lesson is starting with the basics. You can either go find a different set of tutorials that moves faster, or you can sort of skip ahead to some of the later lessons, but I don't want to leave anyone behind, so I am starting with the absolute basics. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, so if we're going to learn Python, we're going to start with the very, very basics, and that is going to be how to install the Python software. Good news is it is free, so it won't cost you anything. Doesn't cost you anything to take this class, and doesn't cost you anything to get the Python software, so you should be good to go. Your budget will not keep you from being successful in this series of lessons. So what I will need you to do, if we are going to do this, I am going to need you to go ahead and call up a browser, and I think I will get out of your way a little bit here. Go ahead and call up a browser, and what I need you to search on is, I like the most excellent DuckDuckGo, but you can use whichever search engine you like. I'm going to search on install Python. Okay, and this first result here for me is download Python from python.org. That sounds like a pretty good place to be. And I am operating on a Windows machine, so I will be downloading the Windows version. I am on Windows 10. Now, if you happen to be on Linux, you might have to poke around a little bit here and like maybe go to the Linux Unix installation or the Mac OS installation, but you should be able to find your way to it. Now, because this might be online for some time, I want you to see that I am installing Python 3.9.1. The safest thing probably for you would be to download the same version that I am on. If you're looking at this 4 years in the future and they're up to Python 6.7 or something, if you want these lessons to work flawlessly, you probably need to come back and you need to find an earlier version so that you are using exactly the same version that I am using. But enough of this talking. Let's go ahead and see if we can download this. So I will click on download Python 3.9.1, and what I can see down here, which you probably cannot see, is let me resize my windows a little bit here so you get my same view. That looks good. You can see in the Chrome browser down here on the left, it is giving me an exe file, which then will allow me to do the installation. So by clicking on download Python 3.9.1, I now in my lower left corner here have the executable that will actually install the software. So let's click on that, hope for the best. Okay, it is now asking me, do you want to install now? Now, this is really, really important. You want to install the launcher for all users, at least, that's useful. But what's really, really, really important is you need to click on this little thing that says add Python 3.9 to path. Now in Windows, you have a path that helps Windows find its way to your software. And since in the future you might be having other programs that might be using Python, you want to make sure that that Python file is in your path name. So you want to, yes, put the check in add Python 3.9 to path. And then with that, I think that we want to do the install now, which includes all the bells and whistles with it. So I will click install now. Then it asked me, do you really want to install? I said yes. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't want to. And now we just sit back and wait for a few seconds while this installs. It's looking good so far. We can just sit and chat as this is installing because I don't like to pause start. If I gotta wait, you gotta wait too. So we'll just wait and let this thing install. This is pretty easy so far, right? Told you it was for the absolute beginner. And we are working our way along here, not having any problems at all so far. And we are almost there. Almost there. Again, I'm on Windows 10, and you can see that it's installing the 64-bit for me. Okay, new to Python, start with the online tutorial. We don't need no stinking online tutorial because I'm going to show you how to use this. And now we're going to go ahead and click close. That looks good. Now, I need you to go to the lower left in Windows in your little search bar, and I need you to type Python. Okay, and you can see that there's this Python 3.9 that would open Python in like a command window, and there is a little bit nicer environment, and that is your Python idle. Okay, do you see that I'm selecting idle Python 3.9 64-bit? So I am choosing to open idle. Okay, and now the idle has opened up, which is the Python shell. Okay, this is the Python shell, and I'll get it full screen here, and you can see that I've got a pretty large font there, so you won't have any trouble reading as I'm typing. If you want to adjust that, you can come in and say configure IDLE. That was under options, and then you can set your font size here under size, and that will allow you to have something nice and big and easy to read. I think the default installation, the font is too small, so I set it up to a big value. Okay, we are ready to start playing around with Python. That went pretty fast. That went pretty easy, right? Now, one of the first things that you're going to notice is, okay, again, I assume that you don't have any programming experience, but I assume that you probably got here from my Arduino lessons, and you've probably done a little coding in Arduino. I'm assuming that. Now, if you haven't, that's okay. You can learn this without doing the Arduino lessons first, but I will sometimes compare and contrast Python to Arduino because I think a lot of you guys are going to end up here from my most excellent Arduino series. So one of the first things that I will say about Python is it is execution ready. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're programming in Arduino, you write the whole program, and then you run the program, and when you run it, it goes and compiles it, and then it runs that compiled code. Okay, Python is not like that. Python executes code one line at a time. Now, you can stack the code together and run it, but it compiles and executes one line of code at a time. And what that means is that you can just sit and type in Python commands, and it will run them as you type them. Later on, we will write a formal program where you write it line by line by line and then run it. But sometimes when you're learning some of the stuff, it's fun to just play with it one line at a time, which we are going to do. Now, if you look here, we have these 3 greater than signs. That means that we are in the Python shell, and it is waiting for a Python command. Okay, it is waiting for a Python command. So first difference between Python and Arduino, Python is execution ready. So we are going to write our first line of Python code, and as is the custom, we are going to say print and then an open parentheses, and then it will print what is in quotes, and so we will say hello world and close those quotes, and then we will click enter. Boom, first line of Python that we have written. You're only like 5 minutes into this and you've already written your first line of Python code. We said print hello world and it printed hello world. Now if we wanted to be a little bit fancier, we could say greeting is equal to, and then in quotes, hello world, and then close those quotes, and then we could say print greeting. Boom, hello world. So now we have our first variable type. We created a variable called greeting, and that greeting contained the string hello world. When we printed greeting, it printed the string hello world. Now what you got to see is this then shows us a second difference between Python and Arduino, and that is you don't have to declare your variables. So like a lot of people who have been in the Arduino world and come to the Python world, they say, oh man, I love it. You don't have to declare your variables. You just start using your variables. Well, you're going to love it until you end up getting yourself in trouble because you're thinking you have one variable type and Python is giving you a different variable type. And so I must warn you, this feature where you don't have to declare your variables will give you enough flexibility that you can kill yourself. And so I say that since you don't declare your variables in Python, you have to be very, very mindful of what type of variable you're using. Okay, so let's play around a little bit more with it. Well, what if we said print, and in quotes, greeting, like that? What is going to happen? Well, it is going to print the word greeting. Why? Because you printed the string greeting as indicated by putting it inside of the quotes instead of the variable greeting. Okay, so don't confuse your variable names with a string itself. Let me, I got to do a little Windows maintenance here so that you will be able to see everything that I am doing. Give me just a second. Give me just a second here to get this straight. Okay. I don't want my little title down there to cover up something that you see. And this is giving me all kinds of trouble. It is not letting me actually resize my window. The window is staying, there it is. Okay. The window was staying the full height no matter what I did, and at that full height, my little title bar at the bottom of the screen would cover up what you were seeing. Okay, so that should work. So when I say greeting is equal to, in quotes, hello world, because I'm setting greeting to something inside quotes, it is making greeting a string type variable. Okay, and then when I say print greeting, it prints the greeting hello world. It prints the string variable greeting, which is hello world. Now what I could also say is I could also say like MSG, or what I could also do is I could say print. Let's do this. Let's say your name is Bobby. Okay. And then I could print name. What am I going to get? I'm going to get Bobby. Well, I could also do a little bit nicer, and I could say print, and I could put the string hello, and then comma, and then name, and then comma, and then welcome to Python. All right. Does that make sense? What do you think that is going to do? I think I am going to need to get out of your way a little bit more so you can see all the code. Okay, there it is. So I'm going to say print hello, comma, name, comma, welcome to Python. Let's try that and see what happens. Okay, hello, Bobby. Welcome to Python. All right, so do you see what's kind of cool here? We can print more than one string by separating it with a comma. And you can see that this was just printing the string hello. This was printing the variable name that contains the string Bobby, and then it prints welcome to Python. So that is pretty cool. Well, we could also do it like MSG1 is equal to hello, and then MSG2 is equal to welcome to Python, like that. And then we could print MSG1, we could print name, we could print MSG2 like that, close it up, and it says, hello Bobby, welcome to Python. Okay, so you see we can print by stringing things together separated by commas. We can print a string itself, or we can print a variable that has a string in it. Now, we are not limited. I like being a little bit larger. I just feel like it's a little personal. I don't like to be postage stamp in the bottom there. I like to be a little bit bigger, a little bit more personable with you. Hope you guys are enjoying your coffee. Okay, we can have more than just strings. We can also have numbers. And so I can say x is equal to 7, and then I could say print x, and it prints 7. Pretty cool. I could say print, and then I could say your number is, and then I could print x, and then it would say your number is 7. That's pretty cool. I could say y is equal to 2, okay, and then I could say print y, like that. Okay, and then it prints 2. Now watch this. Z is equal to x plus y. So what are we doing now? We're now starting to do some mathematical operators, right? We can do operations in Python. So I can say z is equal to x plus y, and then I can say print z, and it says 9 because z was x plus y, 7 plus 2 is 9, and then it prints z. Pretty cool, right? I could also say that z is equal to, let me just try something else here. I want to show you, because like if I have print x, you can see that x is an integer. How do I know that it's an integer? Because it doesn't put a decimal point there. It has made it an integer. Notice that if I said x is equal to 7.0 and then print x, it prints 7.0, the floating point number. So you got to see that Python is assigning variable types to your variables based on how you enter them. Oh, he put in a string. Greeting should be a string. Oh, he put in 7. X should be an integer. Oh, he put in 7.0. X should be a float. Okay. But now what I want you to see is if I say z is equal to 3 divided by 2, if you did that in Arduino, it would say 3 is an integer, 2 is an integer, 3 divided by 2 is going to be an integer. It would return the number 1 because it would run round 1.5 to an integer. But here I say z is 3 divided by 2, and I say print z, print z, and it prints 1.5. So Python sort of figures things out on the own. It says, 3 is an integer and 2 is an integer, but 3 divided by 2 is a float, so I'm going to make z a float. So it sort of decides on its own what type of variable to make the your variables when you use them, and that makes things really easy. But remember this, okay? I want you to listen to me. When you have unexpected behavior in Python, many times it's because you think the variable is one type and Python thinks it's something else. Variable mismatch is one of the #1 most difficult things to debug in Python. So you got to keep that in mind. Okay, so let's see. What did we have? Print x. X is 7. Print y. Y is 2. And so another thing that we could do is we could say z is equal to x divided by y. And then I can say print z like that. and then I see that I have 3.5. I can also kind of do some better formatting. So I could say print, and I could say in a string, I could say print, let's see, let me do something else. Let me say z is equal to x plus y, like that, and then I could say print, and then I could print x plus y, close that, comma, and then I could put x plus y equals, and then close that, and then I could put the z in there, and then it says x plus y equal 9. So we can start putting some formatting in those print statements. What else could we do? We could say print, and I could do it a different way. I could say print x, and then I could print the string space plus space, and then close that, and then comma, put in the variable y, and then put in the string space equal space, and then close that string, and then comma, and then put in the answer, which is z. Let's see if that's going to work. Okay, what do you guys think? Just stop and tell me. Like above it said x plus y is 9, which is true, but now what it's going to say is 7 plus 2 equal 9. Boom. Okay, so you see we can start getting kind of fancy with our formatting on the print. You see how easy it is, how friendly the Python is, makes it really easy to get some of these formatted things. Okay, so we can also do other operators. We've done plus. We could also say, z is equal to, and let's see, we would make it x minus y, and then we could say print z, and then that is 5. 7 minus 2 is 5, so that's good. We can also multiply. We can say z is equal to x times y, and then print z. Okay, z is 14. 7 times 2 is 14. All right, so I want you to see that the way you multiply is you use the little asterisk, the star, the shift 8 for multiplication. So we have added, we have subtracted, we have multiplied, we can divide. Z is equal to, the way you divide would be x and then / y. So z is equal to x divided by y, print z, and we get 3.5. So we have learned already. We've learned how to print. We've learned a little bit about variable types. We've learned how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now there is another operator that is really, I think, very cool. It is the mod operator. And so like I could say z is equal to x, and the mod is the percent sign x mod y. And what does that do? That takes x, it divides by y, and it tells me what the remainder is. So tell me x mod y. Remember, x is 7 and y is 2. What is x mod y? It is 1, because 7 divided by 2 is going to be 3 with a remainder of 1. Okay, because 2 times 3 is 6, and then you need one more to get 7. So the mod function gives you the remainder. Okay, so let's say that x is 9, and let's say y is 3, and z is x mod y. What is z? You tell me. What is z? Z is 0. There's no remainder because 9 divided by 3 is 3, no remainder, and so the mod is 0. So what you could do is you could see if a number is divisible by 3, you could test that. It would be true if the mod of the first number by the second number is 0. If the remainder is 0, it is divisible. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So what have we done here? We have added, we have subtracted, we have multiplied, and we have divided. And and we have learned a little bit about mod. Now there's one other thing that you might want to do, and that is to do powers. And so let's say that we have x is equal to 9, and let's say that you want to square that. Well, what you would do is you would say y is equal to 2, and then you would say z is equal to x, and then to raise it to a power you go star star. So that is x raised to the y, x raised to the y, and then print z. And what do we get? 81, because 9 raised to the 2 is 81. We could also just do something like print 2 raised to the 3. What is 2 raised to the 3? Well, that's 2 times 2 times 2. That is 8. Okay, so we now know how to raise things to the power. What if you wanted to take the square root of a number? We could say print, and then we could say 4, and then we could go star star, and just to be safe, I am going to use quotes here, 1 divided by 2 to the 1/2, right? Because taking the square root of the number is the same as raising it to the 1/2, and so 4 raised to the 1/2 is the square root of 4, which is 2. So we can take any root of a number if we wanted to make that, let's say the cube root of, let's say the cube root of 27, print 27. How would I do cube root? That would be raise it to the 1/3. And what times what times what is 27? It is 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So we just took the cube root. Okay, guys, this has been really a fast lesson, but I hope I didn't lose you, because we kind of made it pretty simple. That you have installed Python, you are operating in the execution ready mode, which means it's executing your code one line at a time, and you have gotten familiar with basic mathematical operations, and including add, subtract, multiply, and divide, the most excellent mod feature, and the raising to a power, the star star to raise to a power. So that's pretty cool. Okay, I want you guys, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. Pause the video, do the homework assignment, then come back and I'll show you the solution. All right, do it yourself just so you can show that you've learned the things, and then I will show you the solution, because you've got to learn this, and it looks really easy when I'm doing it, but you need to do it without me doing it first in front of you. And so the assignment is to set a radius, and then like a circle with a certain radius, and then calculate the circumference, and then calculate the area of that circle, and then print the answer out nicely formatted. Maybe you don't know how to calculate the area or the circumference of a circle. Go look it up, right? How do I calculate the area of a circle? How do I calculate the circumference? It's okay if you don't know it. You can find it in 2 clicks on Google, but then come back and do the assignment. Okay, pause the video, do it on your own. Okay, leave me a comment down below. How many of you guys were able to be successful? How many of you were able to be successful and write your first little kind of assignment on your own without my help? Well, let me show you how to do it. I can set a radius. I'll say radius is equal to 2. Okay, and then I can say circumference is equal to 2 times, the circumference is 2 pi r. What is pi? 3.14. And then times r. What is r? It's the radius. Okay, now understand this 2 is not the radius, it's just the equation for the radius of a circle is 2 pi r. Pi is 3.14, so it's 2 times 3.14 times the radius. Okay, and then I am going to print the circumference, and it says the circumference is 12.56. Now it would be much nicer if I said print, and then I said a circle of radius, and then I'm going to close that, and I'll get out of your way here a little further. A circle of radius, and then what do I put here? radius, a circle of radius, comma, has circumference of, and then I'll close that, put a comma, and then circumference. Okay, let me move this up so you will see the whole thing. Okay, so I said a circle of radius, comma, radius has a circumference, I'll put a period there, of circumference. And so let's look at that. You know what I did? I forgot to close that. I forgot to close that out. So I'll copy it, I'll paste it. Okay, do you see I forgot to put my closing parenthesis? And now look at that. A circle of radius 2 has a circumference of 12.56. Okay, now let's calculate the area. Area is equal to pi, 3.14, pi r squared, 3.14 pi times what? Radius. And then how do I square it? Star, 2, pi r squared. Now, I'm going to print again. A circle of radius, and then I'm going to end that comma, and then put in radius, the variable, has an area of, then in that string, okay, in that string, and then comma, and then what? Area, like that. All right. Let's see if that works. A circle of radius 2 has a, what did I do wrong? Area is equal to 3.4. You know, this is just one of those really, really quirky things where it comes out the same because because of the 2. So that was a really poor example. Let's do radius 3. Okay, radius equal 3. Okay, and now I'm going to just copy and paste this area command. Okay, area, and now I'll print the area. I will Control C to copy, Control V, and then it says a circle of radius 3 has an area of 28.26, and then I'm going to do the circumference as well from up here. 2 pi r, just to show you that you're going to get a different answer this time. Circumference is 2 times 3.14 times radius, and then now I am going to print the circumference command, so I will copy that one just to show you that the area, and I copied a bad line of code, so I will paste and then close the parenthesis. Okay, so a circle of radius 3 has a circumference of 18.84, and it has a radius of 28.26. So that's just to show you that in fact you do get different circumferences and areas for most circles, except the peculiar one that I used as an example, which was a radius of 2. Okay, guys, we have learned some pretty cool stuff today. We've learned how to install Python. We've learned how to run Python programs one command at a time. We've learned how to print. We've learned how to format our prints. And we have learned how to do basic mathematical operators of add, subtract, multiply, divide, the most excellent mod function, and raising something to a power using the star. Also how to take square roots and cube roots, raising to a 1 over the root that you want to find. And so I would say that we've had a pretty productive day today, and hopefully you've had as much fun taking this lesson as I have making the lesson. And what we're going to do next week is, our lesson next week is, we are going to play around with another variable type, and that is the variable type of lists or arrays. And the way to think about an array is, so far, like if I have X is like a bucket with the name X on it, and then you put a value in the bucket. So if you look at X, it tells you what's inside of X, but you can only have one number inside the bucket, and that bucket has a label on it, and you can only have one number at a time inside of that bucket. Well, what we're going to learn next week is we're going to learn about arrays, and arrays would be like a variable name like X, but instead of a bucket, what an array has is it's more like a filing cabinet with slots, and you can put lots of different numbers in that one variable because there's different slots. There's the first slot, second slot, third slot, fourth slot. So I could say, show me X and show me what's in the fourth slot. So that's just really, really powerful, because if you think of something like you wanted to keep track of grades, you wouldn't want to have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. You'd have one variable named grades, and then you had multiple slots, and you could say grade slot 1, grade slot 2, grade slot 3. And so very, very powerful thing is being able to deal with arrays. And most programs you do in the future, you're going to want to be able to use arrays. And so I'm really trying to lay the foundation here. We learned about variables and printing today, how to install the software. Next week, we are going to learn about arrays. Okay, guys, really appreciate you tuning in. We're going to have a lot of fun in this. And again, we're going to get some really, really sophisticated stuff, but I'm taking you there step by step. Paul McWhorter from TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.